Well, we're here today. We're here today to talk about our new book, which is a history of Bob's death experience from August 8th, 1975. Did you learn to love?
Yeah, it's going to be available August 1st, 2015. And probably about 5 years ago, we sat down with Bob and interviewed him on the death experience that he had in 1975. And we asked him, we basically went over it with him with a fine-tooth comb, and just asked him everything we could think about, and he just told us like the physical experience, things that led up to the death experience, words that he was given, things that he saw in heaven, and things that he was told, and
why the devil killed him.
Yeah, why the devil killed him, and why the Lord sent him back. And what do you think was the most impacting part of the book for you?
You mean with
the interview? Yeah.
Two things is the ball of light that came in the car, and the fact that he was still driving. Viola and his dog was in the car, and this was about a 20-minute experience, and he continued driving and didn't wreck, but the Lord came to him in that car in a ball of light. So that, and then also in the line when he's in heaven, and the two lines that he sees, he's in one line, and the other line is those that are going into eternal darkness.
Yeah.
And everybody in that line that rejected Christ, now they had no choice. They saw him, they knew that they had been witness to at some point that he was real, but it was too late. You either accept Christ before you die, or that's it. There's no second chance.
Yeah.
So those two things it really impacted me.
I remember him talking about the two lines, and I don't know why, but one of the characters in the line was for some reason just impacted me so much. There was a man who was wrapped in sod.
Yeah.
Who basically his God was his lawn, and he just that's what he loved and loved and loved, and so he got to spend all eternity with his God. And there were people that were wrapped up in or that were atheists, and their heads were like the size of a giant pumpkin, and that's all that there were to them. And then there were people whose entire beings were inside of a whiskey bottle, an empty whiskey bottle. But for some reason, that person wrapped up in sod, for some reason that visual just stuck with me.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you something.
Sure.
I'm going to show this, the cover. Lynn designed the cover, and as you can see, it's doors, or like double doors, and the light is beaming through there. Can you tell me how you got the idea for that cover?
Yeah, well, it has to do with those two lines again. The one that was going into eternal darkness, and then the other one was leading up to Jesus, and that line was significantly shorter, and the people that were in that line, when they would come up to Jesus, he would ask them, "Did you learn to love?" And they would say yes, and kind of give an account to their life. and how they learned to love, and the Lord would interact with them through their description, and then his heart or his chest would open up like double doors, what Bob said, and the people would enter in through his heart. And so that was the inspiration for the cover of the book.
That's good. That's good. I want to add something when you were saying about, Jesus interacting with the people. When you stand before the Lord, He is a spirit and you are a spirit. So you cannot conjure up something to say. It's your spirit that's speaking, and only the truth will come from you. So I know the one lady that, I think the lady was directly in front of Bob. She was like 93 years old, and she was all gnarled up with arthritis. And she was widowed very young. And she went to church all the time. She really loved the Lord, but she didn't like people. And the thing is, the Lord took her into heaven. He said she would get no rewards. But, see, her downfall in life was she learned to love the Lord, but she never shared that love with anybody else.
Right.
And that's what, we're all called to learn to love.
Yeah.
When we walk in the nature of Jesus Christ, we learn to love.
Mm-hmm.
And then we share that with others.
Mm-hmm.
It's contagious.
Yeah, it's that second commandment.
Right. So, anyhow, we've put together this book. We have photos in the back of Bob. We could have a very large book just with photos of people that he knew and ministered to all around the world for many, many years. However, we just, I really prayed about what photos the Lord wanted me to use. And so I couldn't put all the photos in that I would want to. Some of the things we shared in here are things that Bob had experiences over the years. But the first part we did as the interview, and I left it as the interview because I wanted people to hear Bob's voice when they read it. Because Bob had a certain way of speaking, and I didn't want that changed. I just wanted it to sound like Bob Jones, because that's who he was. Mm-hmm. He was that unique person that God created, and you weren't going to change him. He would say that people were born again.
Born again.
And
that's right.
Even though it was a past tense, they were born again, but when you are born, you are born. And then when you're born again, you are born again. So that's the way he saw it. And I thought, we just left things the way that he spoke it.
Yep.
And so you could have the opportunity to hear Bob's voice as you read it.
Yeah. And then there's kind of three parts to this book, the way that I see it. There's the interview, which is very well detailed, and that's the first 3 chapters, I'd say. And then there's 3 or 4 chapters that are kind of breaking down love and learning to love, and then there's the photo gallery, which is just fun looking over the history. But I just wanted to ask you, Mom, on the second part, what do you think is one of the most important parts of the second half of the book?
Well, let me look. So I can... Where's our table of contents? The second part. Well, golly, I don't know, because it's all about love. When I say about, it's love, I mean, it's God, it's Jesus, it's the Holy Spirit. I guess maybe learning how to love, because it's something we have to learn. maybe that's why I like babies so much, because they just love. They love unconditionally. They're so full of love and life and joy. And, we are supposed to come to the Lord like little children.
Yeah.
And for me, in my life, I feel like I'm getting more childlike, but I think it's because there's more love in me. The older I get, the more love I have, so, I think I'm just growing more in love with Him and in love with life, people in life. So I think learning to love, preferring others first,
Yeah.
coming out of that self-centeredness and preferring others first. So it's kind of hard to say. I don't know. I have a specific. It's just all about love. I just don't know. So,
Okay.
But anyhow.
Yeah, this will be available to order online and as an ebook August 1st. We probably have some pre-ordering about a week in advance. So a week before August, you can start ordering online, and we'll be sending these books out.
And the cost will be.
What will the cost be? Is it 16? I think it's $16. Yeah.
So can you tell we haven't really decided?
Well, we're still a good 2 months ahead, so
We're thinking $16.
yeah, $16 and.
Buy a bunch. Put his
There you
kids through college. Yeah. You know what? This is done. Honest. We had planned since 2010 to put this together as a book to celebrate Bob's 40th anniversary of his death experience, which would be August 8th of 2015.
Yes.
So it is done to glorify the Lord in what He did in Bob's life. Bob always had the choice. He had the choice then, which you will read. Bob was happy. He said, it's the greatest day I've ever lived. That he was there with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord, even though He would love to take Bob in at that time, He had greater plans for Bob. He said, the devil killed you before your time. And He gave Bob the opportunity to go back or to stay. But Bob so loved the Lord and what he was called to do. He knew his work wasn't complete. He chose to come back. So we want to honor God in what He did through Bob's life. And in doing that, we're honoring Bob in his obedience to the Lord. So that was the purpose of writing the book. It's to honor them and, to honor God first and honor Bob for his work on earth. So okay.
There you go. Did You Learn to Love will be available August 1st. Enjoy. Thank you.
Be blessed.